All right, so for problem number 10, they want us to write the equation of the line that passes through this point, negative 3, comma 2, and negative 7, comma 8. So I have to calculate the slope. So in order to calculate the slope, what I'll need to do is I'm going to call this x sub 1, y sub 1. I'm going to call this x sub 2, y sub 2. My x kind of looks like a y. Let me make that a little nicer. Okay, cool. So now the slope is equal to y sub 2 minus y sub 1 all over, what's the rest of this? Yep, x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Make sure you're writing this down on your worksheet, okay? What's y sub 2? 8. What is y sub 1? 2. So I'm going to subtract 2. Now on the bottom, what's x sub 2? Negative 7. Then I subtract. What's x sub 1? Negative 3. So remember, I got some minus the minus thing going on down here. When you minus a minus, it becomes a plus. All right. So then my slope is really 8 minus 2, which is 6. And then down here, this is negative 7 plus 3, which is negative 4. We can reduce that. What number divides evenly into 6 and 4? 2, right? So I'm going to divide this by 2. Whatever I do on the top, I got to do on the bottom, right? 6 divided by 2 is 3. What's negative 4 divided by 2? Negative 2. Negative 2. So you could think of this as just negative 3 halves, right? Okay. All right, so now what's the point slope form? Well, I have my x1 and I have my y1. Remember that the point slope form, I'll write it down here, is y minus y sub 1 is equal to m times the quantity x minus, oops, got a little carried away, minus x sub 1. And so it'd be y minus y sub 1, which is 2, is equal to negative 3 halves, that's my m, times the quantity x minus x sub 1, which is minus 3. Now, if you wrote it that way, I would accept that as the correct answer. Or you could also write it this way. When you minus a minus, it's really a plus. Okay. But if you put x minus 3, that's wrong. Right. So now it says, all right, well, write that bad boy in the slope-intercept form. So this is, remember, this is point-slope form. The reason it's called the point-slope form is because I have a point that I'm plugging in, and I have the slope. Now, the slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where b is the intercept and m is the slope. So I've got to solve for y. So I'm going to push this through the parentheses. That becomes negative 3 halves times x. When I multiply this through, remember this is a positive 3. So I'm going to have over here, I'm going to say negative 3 halves times 3 over 1, which is technically negative 9 over 2. And then I've got y minus 2. Okay? Now to get y by itself, I have to add 2. I have to add 2 to both sides. That gives me y over here minus 3 halves x. Now, somewhere over here, I'll write it over here because I'm starting to run out of room. Negative 9 halves plus a whole 2 is the same as adding it to 2 over 1. I need a common denominator of 2, so I hit the top and bottom of this last fraction with 2. So that gives me negative 9 halves plus 4 over 2, right? Because 4 over 2 is the same as 2, right? And so remember, when you're adding or subtracting fractions with the same denominator, with a common denominator, you're really just adding or subtracting the numerators, and then you keep the same common denominator. That's really negative 5 over 2, right? negative 9 plus 4. So this is negative 5 over 2. So then your final answer, whew, that's a lot of work, is y equals negative 3 halves times x minus 9 over, oh, not 9, no, 5 over 2. Okay? How many of you guys got that answer when you did it by yourself? Good. Good. How many of you guys feel like you could do that on your own during the test tomorrow?